Welcome to Policy on Demand's Week in Review. I'm Will Morris.
What would you tell clients are your takeaways from this week?
It's crazy out there, is the answer. Even with DC being relatively quiet, this is the busiest I've ever seen it in international tax in my entire career, which is now quite lengthy, whether it's the OECD, Pillar 1, Pillar 2, the EU, the UK doing things, various other countries. It is just a lot going on, and it is very, very hard to keep track of. But that's my takeaway. It really is crazy out there.
Which question related to policy did you get asked the most, and how did you respond?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest question is this for real? This is people mostly talking about the OECD project, but then the offshoots of that as well. Is this real at the OECD? Is this real in the EU? Is this real with the UK going out and consulting on Pillar 2? The answer is yes, it is. We don't exactly know the timing, we really truly don't, but this is real. And people say, well, is that going to affect me? As a US corporation, isn't GILTI going to be a qualified regime? Well, we don't know. A lot of that depends on what happens here in DC. But even if it is, there could well be changes in those rules which affect US corporations on their US income. There's a lot of stuff here that we're only just beginning to understand. So the questions are beginning to flow now. I think they'll grow and grow, but that's what it is.
Where should companies focus their attention in the coming week?
Yeah, well, I'm spoiled for choice on what companies should be doing, but let me choose Pillar 2. Pillar 2 is the proverbial onion. We've begun to peel back a couple of the layers there, but there are many, many more to come. And I think as people look at these details, they're going to need to figure out all sorts of things. This is not just how much more tax am I going to pay, where am I going to be affected, but actually what are the effects going to be on data collection, on ERPs? How am I going to think about this in relation to other rules? What happens if the US does something? What happens if they don't? So I think paying attention to Pillar 2 is really important because although the policy is set, the details are not, and there are going to be opportunities over the coming weeks and months to input into those details. So pay attention to Pillar 2. That's my takeaway, that's my suggestion.